What's up? It's Ben from WODprep, and today I'm going to talk about the 5 most common wall walk mistakes. So if you've been doing CrossFit for the last few years, or maybe you just recently started doing functional fitness, wall walks are a movement that's here to stay. It's relatively new on the scene, and it's one of the harder movements that we've seen show up, and there's not too much coaching out there for it. So that's why this video, I'm going to cover a few of the mistakes that I've seen myself and other athletes make as they try to do wall walks. And if you avoid these 5 mistakes, you're going to get no rep way less, and you're going to have a much better time when wall walks show up in the middle of the workout. If you're someone who's trying to learn how to get your first successful wall walk, or maybe you're trying to become more efficient at them, I actually have a completely free wall walk guide I'd love to send you. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you exactly where you can get a hold of that completely free. So let's start in the very beginning of the movement. This is where the mistakes start, and then we're going to work our way through. So the first wall walk mistake is people move their feet too early. Here's what it looks like. As you start your wall walk, you're on the ground, your feet are on the wall, your hands are on the line, and what I've seen a lot of people do is the first thing that they think about is, oh, well, I have to get my feet off the ground before I start moving my hands. So they'll go something like this. They'll do a push-up, and then they'll immediately start to move their feet. So you can see my feet are off the wall. Whew. That is such a hard position to be in. That is nearly impossible to do. So rather than moving your feet too early and thinking, oh, I got to get my feet off the ground, and then starting a wall walk from here, which is exhausting. Instead, what you need to do, what I've taught in a couple other videos about my progression, is the first thing you need to do is get into a downward dog position. Then when you're in a downward dog position, that's when we can start moving our feet up the wall. So that's the first and probably one of the most common mistakes is moving your feet too early. Get into that downward dog position prior to moving your feet up the wall, and it's going to put you in a much, much easier position. That's your whole goal of the movement, is to try to avoid really, really awkward positions, and there's a lot of chances for you to do that over the course of a successful wall walk. Common mistake number 2, unfortunately, is moving your hands too early. So I just talked about your feet. How do you move your hands too early? Well, this is a common way that I've seen a lot of people get no-repped, or a lot of people that should have gotten no-repped did this, and that is when I'm on the ground and I'm getting ready to start my wall walk, maybe I do the right thing and I get into a downward dog position. Well, as soon as I move, let's say, one foot, so let's say if I get my left foot off the ground, a lot of times people will take that opposite hand and move it away from the line. So it'll look something like this in full speed. It's like, okay, so again, I'll be here, and they'll maybe get one foot up, and then they'll move their hand off the line before they move their second foot off the line. Remember, both of your feet need to be off the ground before your hands can move off the line. So be really, really cautious and pay special attention if you have a good judge, or if you're filming yourself, or if you're trying to uphold the standards. You really need to make sure that 1, 2 feet are off the ground before I ever move my hands. So that's another really, really common mistake that a ton of people make, and they might not even notice it, and that's moving their hands too early. Common mistake number 3, and this is especially true for beginners of the wall walk, is that they take little teeny baby steps. So they take steps and they spend a really long time up inverted against the wall because their steps are so short. It might look something like this. So maybe you've done everything right. Okay, you didn't move your feet too early. You didn't move your hands too early. But then it looks something like this, where you're just barely, it takes like 30 steps just to get your hands to the wall. Okay? That's exhausting. You can't do that. Once you are in a position to start walking, your goal is to really take nice, big, steady steps. I don't want you to lose your balance or to lose your control, but you shouldn't be taking baby steps. If you take baby steps during the wall walk, you're spending twice as much energy. Basically, the more steps you take, I think the more energy you burn. So rather than just barely shuffling your hand, what you need to do is get used to taking nice big steps. I'm here, I get off the ground, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm back down. This is unedited WOD prep. So I don't want you taking too many steps. If you can take 4, maybe 5 steps deliberately, that's so much better than taking a bunch of mini steps. That's gonna waste a ton of energy. And then that moves us on to mistake number 4, and that's pausing at the wall. I mentioned this in a couple of our other videos, but again, it goes along with the theme of the more time you spend inverted, the more energy you are wasting. So what I often see athletes do is they get all the way up to the wall line, and then they hang out at the very, very top and have both hands on the line, just hanging out for a couple seconds. So I know I already ripped away half the line, but we're just gonna roll with it. Here's what it looks like. It would look something like this, where, all right, I'm getting up, I'm up, I touch, and then I pause here for a second before I start walking back down. That pause, even though it seems slight, that pause wastes a ton of energy and it wastes time in a very compromised position. So don't spend time with both hands on the line. Instead, what I want you to do is that I want you to get your hands on the wall and just tap and go. That's gonna help you waste less time inverted. It's gonna help you get through your wall walks with less mistakes and less fatigue. The 5th and final tip that I wanna give you involves coming down the wall too slowly or letting your feet drop too soon. It's a very nuanced approach. So once we've touched both of our hands to the line, technically now our only job is to get our hands back to the original starting position on that line before our feet touch the ground. A lot of times what I see is either people do those baby steps and they very, very slowly control themselves back to the ground, which, as we've covered already, fatigues you out way too much, or they kind of let themselves pike. They let their butt come up and they let their feet touch before their hands hit the ground. So we've already talked about the baby steps. You know what that looks like, where I'm just slowly walking myself back down. We don't want that because of fatigue. But another way that you can make a mistake on the way down is to let your feet drop too early. So let's say I get up on the wall, I do my wall walk, I'm here, and I let my feet touch. That's a no rep because my hands haven't gotten to the line. So what you really need to focus on, spend extra attention doing, is keeping pressure on your feet on the wall until your fingertips touch this line. As soon as your fingertips are on that line, you can drop. And it might look something like this. So I touch, boom. As soon as I got my fingers to the line, I just let myself splat down to the ground. So I hope that you like this video. I covered 5, really 6 common mistakes that people make during wall walks. If you eliminate these mistakes, you're gonna get no rep less, and you're gonna become more efficient during wall walk workouts. Do me a favor, let me know what's the most common out of these 5 or 6 mistakes. What's the most common one that you make? Leave a comment below and let me know, and maybe I'll make another video that covers more in detail how to fix that mistake. Again, if you want a completely free training guide where me and my team will give you a couple of drills and exercises to help you get better at wall walks so that you can become proficient. If you want my ultimate guide to wall walks, go to wodprep.com/wallwalks or click the link in the top comment below, or I'll also make sure it's in the description. Any additional information, including a link to WODprep Academy, will be down there as well. WODprep Academy is where you can get access to all of WODprep's best courses, all the way from learning how to do double unders, to muscle ups, to mental strength, to cardio engine, to weightlifting. All of our courses are together in one place. We call that WODprep Academy, and you can get it right now for an incredible deal. Go check that out. And of course, if you haven't yet, smash the subscribe button. Thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't. Make sure you leave that comment. Let me know what your #1 mistake was, and I'll see you in the next video.
Wall walks? Again? We did those last year. Have I been practicing? Sort of. I mean, I kind of thought they were more of a one and done thing, kind of like, you know, MC Hammer, the Bengals in the Super Bowl, you know, like that.